Welcome to another wonderful day here in the LCS Academy Summer 2022 split. I'm Mazel, joined by Cubby and Magical, and we are all powered by Verizon. And I am so ready to get this final day of week number 1 on the way. It is a little bit sad to say that we're already done with week number 1. That means we've got one less week to go in competition at least. But Cubby, I'm glad you're here with us. How are you?
Doing great. Again, forever grateful for Riot for putting me up in the streaming room while I'm out here in LA. And I don't know, why are you sad that week 1 is over? I'm just glad that we have week 1 going, man. We got games back. Got
there's
some
two ways to look at it. Magical, you hanging in there? You quacking it up, or
you're not happy to have me on the desk as
That's
well?
what I was giving you a moment. All right, I was giving you a moment. Of course, I'm happy to have you here. I was asking if you're quacking today. Come on.
Yeah, that's how it rolls. I see how it is, Lennon. I understand the dynamic here. It's okay.
It's okay. Is that the dynamic we've established? All right, we'll see how that
hot start
goes
hot
on
start
through
today.
the rest of the day. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of hot starts, though, we got Champions Queue, Cubby, and it's back. We're gonna have a little bit of a graphic to come up here and introduce the new season of Champions Queue.
Yeah, it's great to see Champs Queue back. I'm looking forward to getting back to my setup so I can stream, some more spectating. There's been 4+ games running, I think, consistently while it's been up, which is great. And I mean, it's huge for these players to use it. Of course, that means that, we have a leaderboard. We have an elo system now. Have to take a look at some of that. I know that we don't have a ton of Academy players in that top 5 graphic, but hey, I know C9 Trevor is rather high up there. Also, shout out to Chime or Mayo in the top 10.
True.
Yawn at 12 has been playing really well in Academy so far this split. So good to see some of our Academy players taking advantage of that privilege as well.
Hey, don't sleep on Mia. Mia's 4th place, man.
Well, yeah.
Don't spoil.
I mean,
way to go, Magical! You just spoiled the dude. No, but in all actuality, it's nice to see some players. We did have actually a huge presence of players from Academy playing in Champions Queue during the last split, and high up on the ladder as well in those top 10 positions. So it's really good to see that kicking back up as well throughout the season itself. But we did have some games yesterday that. The match of the day that we called TSM Academy taking on Dignitas Academy, and there were some seriously intense moments, but it did end up in Dignitas coming out on top.
This was this was a really competitive series, and I know that Dig ended up taking both games. I think that one of the big difference makers in the series was Insanity. I thought Insanity was fantastic in both of these games, but I still think it's a promising showing for the young TSM roster. Again, Seoul Academy debut is this week. Takeover back. I think Instinct's been improved. Mia has been fantastic. We'll have more news on that later, but I think that it's been a hot start for both of these teams. TSM, even with the loss, still think they're a really young, promising roster. And then Dig, I mean, Mad Magical, we can't say enough good things about Dig to start the split.
Seriously, Dignitas, I mean, they are looking hot right now. Just looking at them, FlyQuest, Team Liquid, these teams are dominating at the moment. And I hope that they keep this going forward, especially looking at Dignitas. Insanity stepping in. Like, a lot of people had criticisms that, looking at the younger organization that had been there for spring for Dignitas, now bringing in a bit more of a veteran status in Insanity. Insanity pretty much proven why he deserves that spot.
On top of the gameplay, but also his Twitter, his social media presence as well, because we did get some back and forths at least in an Insanity thread line. But Cubby, what do you rate this social media presence from Insanity yesterday?
2.5 peppers.
2.5 peppers. Oh, out of how many peppers?
Enough?
Is it like 3 peppers?
You know what? I'm not going to give away out of how many. We're just going to go throughout the season, and I'll just keep on adding more peppers depending on how spicy it was. So far, XU's interview trash talk, that's the most peppers of the season so far. I put that at like 3.5 peppers.
So why don't you just use the Scoville scale?
Yes.
The one that actually measures like hotness.
Actual measurement.
But I can't measure that in emojis.
You can't. You cannot.
I can't use half emojis, but yeah.
Some seriously interesting stuff there. A little bit of exchanges. Smithy getting on it. I love to see it. You know, as a former player, I want to see some of that spice come out of the coaching position. That's just my personal taste. But we did also get a little bit of behind the scenes interviewing from the Dignitas players after their series yesterday. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
So 4-0 today. So how do you feel today?
I mean, we're feeling good. You know, we're almost there for the 6-0, just 2 more.
All right, let's go. All right, Juan, 4-0 today. How do you feel?
Tired. Tired, Toby.
But feel good though, right?
It's a good feeling, but long game. Ready to take a nap.
Hey, David. So 4-0, Vic. 4-0 today. How do you feel?
Expected once again. Just feeling good.
That's good. That's good. Deos, how do you feel? Coach
Free
Deos?
SM, baby. Free SM.
Let's go.
I said it.
All right, Lawrence, 4-0 today. How do you feel?
It's a painful 4-0. Long grind, but it's okay. I'm pretty happy.
I love the Deos 4-0. I said it, and then you got
Free
XU
SM.
looking all
Free
calm
SM.
and nice and cool. I can appreciate that one, Cubby.
I like the mix-up. I like the fact we're getting some of those reactions post-game.
Mm-hmm.
Always fun. Always we can always kind of dig to deliver that Academy content, you know?
It's always nice. Hey, kings of content, I gotta say. But another organization that is pretty big on content with these post-game interviews, especially since last split, is Immortals. And we got to hear from the one, the only Arrow yesterday. So let's listen in to his interview.
We just finished our academy match against the 100 Academy. It was 1-1, but we should have won, I believe, the last game, but we drew it. I think we are pretty decent, or our performance was fine, but it's like we're having fun too much. Sometimes, I don't know, I feel like we're being, we're being a horny dog. We're not human. We are being a dog and oof, I wanna fight or something. So we make a mistake, those one on the stage, and then we just lose the game of it. So, yeah, let's be human. That's my idea.
I'm just glad that Arrow stays with the commitment to the bit. I mean, that's one of the things we came into the year saying it for Academy. We want to commit to the bit, but my goodness, we're just a bunch of dogs out there. No big deal. But wise words from, obviously wanting to come away with the 2-0.
Yes, wise words.
Magical.
Very, very wise. That's the word I would use to describe what he said. Totally.
Cubby, do you have any additional wise words there to add to Arrows?
I think it's fair to say that Immortals over-aggressed a bit, had winning angles in that game, and,
Dude.
misplayed.
Cubby, did you not hear Arrow? They trolled that game.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much credit away from 100 Thieves Academy.
Oh, no, they did well, too. But
Yeah.
I'm just talking about Immortals definitely
Yeah.
trolled that game. Well, 100 Thieves played phenomenally that game.
Yeah, Tenacity had a big game.
Yeah, he did, which, we're deserving, I would think. Did want to go ahead and bring up, some players to watch tweets, because I do think that getting to see a little bit of the community reaction, the community involvement into that tweet segment yesterday, where we were talking about, players we wanted to see pop off, players we wanted you to watch on the stream. I think it's important to also see what the community is looking at. And there's some good names on there. I'm just saying, Magical.
Well, did you see that EG Academies, like their like fan one, said that they said UG instead of saying a member on EG. That was more the surprise to me. Like, I'm seeing a lot of Meeches up there, which is expected, to be honest. Meech, once he starts playing, I am really excited to see how he'll perform in Academy.
I like the Saligo shout out as well. Yeah, every once in a while you get a couple, and Cubby, I know it lines up with a lot of things that we were talking about before the season, players that we were talking about behind the scenes that we wanted to keep a lookout on.
I mean, that is what spawned a lot of these tweets and replies. It's kind of fun hearing what the community thinks as well. Personally, I like the Yuji shout out because early season, Yuji has been doing a very good job of reading his lanes. And that's something that I think Yuji really struggled with last split. And if Yuji is able to keep on doing that, the mechanics, the skill on this guy as an individual is insane. So I think that this is a huge sign of growth for Yuji. And I want to see if that continues in our first series today.
Very true. And I think, we're looking at players to watch, all the goodness in the league right now, the 2 days in, we're seeing some of that development, but now I want to transition to something that's super important, absolutely factual, and something that is totally on par with Academy, because we're going over reactions. And I gotta go ahead and hear Cubby.
Me first.
Oh,
Me
Magical,
first.
let's go. Okay, you take the torch, my dude. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I like this.
I'm ready.
Yes,
let's hear. What's the overreaction?
Cubby's
Unless you steal
overreactions. We'll see. My overreaction is that it's going to be a finals of FlyQuest and Dignitas in Proving Grounds. You heard it here first.
Man, why you gotta? All right, well, I'm gonna have to take some time to rethink my overreaction because we might have been on the same page there. But a good overreaction because, you know, with the first couple day of games, I would say that's right on par, Cubby. What about you? What's your overreaction?
Disrespect I'm hearing towards Team Liquid Academy, man.
They
We cannot skip over this.
They get third.
We cannot skip over this.
They get third. No big deal.
I can always count on you for wild overreactions. Honestly,
Quacking overreactions.
I guess we'll make it an overreaction. I think that Yawn has been the best marksman in the league. I think that in the first 4 games, I think that Yawn and Spawn have been the real standouts to me. But Yawn, that performance yesterday, game 2, that Ezreal found the kill level 1 in a 1v2, saved the team in a late game team fight. I know from talking with some of the Team Liquid members, 4 out of the 5 teammates boot camped in Korea. So that Yawn is off a huge buff from that, and Yawn has been bringing it to the Academy stage. He has been really, really good in this early split.
All right, well, that's your overreaction. A little bit tame, I feel like. A little bit calm.
Well, what if I say it's gonna stick that way? I've been hyping up Spawn the entire time, but I gotta honor Yawn's play. Spawn's been good, but Yawn's been better. Yawn's been fantastic.
Since we still got a schedule to keep. I'm Magical. I'm just gonna throw my lot in with you. My original one was that FlyQuest is gonna win Proving Grounds this year, this split. So
see, I didn't say they were gonna win. I just said that.
Well, then there's my overreaction. They're gonna win it all.
Okay.
But yeah, we got a couple FlyQuesters in here apparently. We're gonna go ahead and look a little bit at the schedule we had in front of us, and we do have 2 different streams. We have the twitch.tv/academy channel, which you are on right now, where we will have 3 best of 2s, starting off with TSM Academy taking on FlyQuest Academy, followed by Immortals Academy taking on Cloud9 Academy, and rounding it out with CLG Academy taking on Team Liquid Academy. Again, that is here on the first stream with us. On the second stream on twitch.tv/PathToLCS, our brand new Twitch channel over there with Desrex, Joshi, and Sierra. We've got Golden Guardians Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Academy, and Dignitas Academy taking on 100 Thieves Academy. Cubby, you got anything that stands out to you today? Any matches of the day that we want to throw out there?
I think second stream, Insanity going up against 100 Thieves, just coming off that 100 Thieves next roster, and I think that Dig had a really solid set yesterday in that 2-0, but 100 Thieves picking up that first win. We haven't had a lot of 1-1s in Academy, and I'm curious to see if 100 Thieves can maybe snag a game off Dig. I know later in the season, like once Busio gets here, and once 100 Thieves has some time, we have high expectations for that roster, but Dig early season has been really, really good, and Insanity especially has been excellent. So I'm really curious to see that matchup.
Yeah,
well,
but
if you do,
I gotta say, we start off with my match of the day for this one. TSM, I mean, even if they lost 2-0 to Dignitas yesterday, I think it was a valiant performance, even in scenarios where it seemed like it should have been well over long before. They're able to drag out the game far longer than they rightfully should have. And I think them against FlyQuest, a team that is just rock solid right now, starting off this split. I think this is a great test to see how TSM are going to perform.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. All right, so we got our match of the day request, and if you do want to check any of that out, if you want to know anything about what's happening in NA developmental, in Academy, in even amateur, you got to go follow at PathToLCS. It's our Twitter, it's our Twitch. It all comes together in the full package of Academy, and I absolutely love all the content we've been putting out. We have it pretty much weekly, every day that we have something coming out on that channel. If we're retweeting player content or even team content, so you've got to go ahead and give a little shout out to the PathToLCS Twitter and appreciate all the love we've already gotten on there. But now we got to get to the games.
You're not gonna give my content a shout out?
What do you got? The in the lab, the hanky tanky.
Yeah, the hanky tanky, man. You gotta give it some love. Come on.
That's why I'm telling people go check out the content.
No, you should explicitly say explicitly.
All right, everybody.
Just my content, not anyone else's.
I'm looking at you. Explicitly go check out the brand spanking new in the lab hanky tanky that Magical just put out. All right, there you go.
And
Magical.
this
I'll
is
give
how
you a
we
shout out.
bully to get things we
This
want.
is how we bully to get things you want in broadcast. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the first series of the day, and it is TSM Academy taking on FlyQuest Academy. We were just saying FlyQuest winning Proving Grounds, might as well be winning Worlds. But all in all, the fact that we do get to see this TSM Academy roster who looked so good on the first day of games, Cubby, and now we're seeing them bounce back from a little bit of damage.
And for TSM, I mean, one of the reasons that I feel like this matchup is even more interesting today is that that is not an error on our graphic. If you go check out TSM's Twitter, they just announced Mia is stepping out today to play in LCS scrims. That means that Shenyi will be playing with Academy. And I gotta say, when it comes to Mia, we've only seen 2 sets from this player, but Mia has been fantastic in his first 2 sets. Coming in again from a minor region where his team took second. The reputation for Mia in Academy last split was that if you were an Academy team and you needed bot lane practice, you would go scrim B-Voy and Mia outside the league. And they would give you the best bot lane practice you could ask for outside the league when it comes to, non-LCS teams. So I feel like Mia really picking up with some of the momentum and hype he had behind him from the last split has been playing really, really well. I'm really glad for Mia that he was able to earn some practice time with the LCS team. And I got to say, it's going to be an interesting race to see who ends up earning that LCS starting support position. I think it's very competitive.
Yeah, and I gotta say, just after that first, 2 series that we saw out of Mia, he's making a good argument why he deserves that LCS spot.
He does, and I think it's incredible the amount of times over the last couple of days I've heard you guys call out his name in the cast consecutively just because of all the plays, the Nautilus hooks left and right. I think it's incredible, but that's where I do want to introduce Shenyi, where we do have this player coming from the Chinese Developmental League, from the LPL specifically, even having gotten some starting
You gotta give it a call out, don't you? Don't you, Lennon? You gotta give it a call out.
Gotta give it a call out. And this guy has now spent an entire split in the Academy / LCS developmental sections, and I think, Cubby, it's an interesting perspective to bring into this game, especially against FlyQuest Academy.
It feels like last split, Shenyu, I think, benefited from the fact that he spent some time in Academy, got some more games, some more reps, and especially for Shenyu, some more reps of just communicating. TSM even highlighted that in their announcement that Mia has been a really sound communicator with the team. I think that Shenyu, of course, learning English, learning how to communicate with the team in that language. You do get more reps in Academy. So I think that this really did benefit Shenyi in the last split in spring. And like I said, I'm really curious to see what ends up happening with that LCS starting support spot because, as both of you were saying, I think it's very competitive.
It absolutely is, and you're seeing it starting off the season, which I think is super cool and something that want to give all these Academy players the opportunities that they deserve. And I think when you're looking over at the other side of the tail of the take here, FlyQuest Academy, we've talked so much about the roster sticking together. LCS maybe not necessarily giving that back and forth that we're seeing on TSM Academy, but this roster is so solid together, Magical.
This is the overreaction team. Honestly, it's
not an overreaction, I'm telling you right now.
I mean, they got to continue it. It's only 1 week, man. I'll be the first to admit that it is definitely an overreaction. But I am hyped to see them. I look at how they're playing, like UG Spyrex playing out of their mind, but then we go to the bot lane with cheat codes, right? Gotta keep saying that. It's Diamond on that Tom Kench was insane. How many times he would find these knockups blind onto members of 100 Thieves that I think was a big reason why they're able to take such a clean victory over them. And then you look at the net games yesterday against Cloud9, and it's still Diamond leading the charge. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact that he doesn't feel like he has to babysit everyone on the team anymore. He has more confidence at everyone. Everyone has more of a voice. We've talked about this before. And you can see that in his gameplay where he can play so aggressively and not really have to worry about what's the consequences from it because he has confidence in his team.
And I mean, that's something that Diamond specifically cited. They are starting at a higher point. You don't have to relearn the fundamentals as it is the same 5 players for this split. But I think this is an interesting support for Diamond. I've been on the record, and I will say again here, I think this is the strongest support pool from top to bottom we've ever seen in Academy. And Diamond is someone who has played longer than all the competition around him. And, Diamond is still, of course, in Academy. He is the leader of this team, the voice behind them. But And Diamond's still trying to prove that, we spend so much time hyping up Awa, Chime, and especially Busio, and rightfully so for those three. But Diamond trying to prove that he can compete with those three. He's had a great start to the split. He is a huge part of this team. He is the leader. And I want to see how he does against the substitute Chenny coming in a little bit late.
Hey, and don't forget that Diamond has won many times in
Yes.
Academy. He's got a lot of
Yes.
titles in this league to himself just because he's been able to work with so many different teams. That's what I think what is the most impressive. It's not like it's the same team winning over and over again. He played with a lot of change-ups in his time with Cloud9 to find those victories, to really lead new people each time. And that's why he ended up going to the LCS, even if it was only briefly. I think he deserves another shot. And if he can have a successful year this year, another win for Academy, there's no argument against not bringing this guy back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think every series gives that argument a little bit more of backing to it. And I think when you're arguing for FlyQuest Academy in general, right, that is a main sticking point. But I think also we talked so much in the first couple days about the UG and Spyrax duo, mid-jungle duo coming into this meta, coming into this split. They have looked so strong. And I think that's something that, TSM Academy themselves is going to need to find a way to solve, find a way to work around with the roster that they're bringing in, see if they can play maybe through their strengths in the top side of the map as well, Cubby.
And this is something, again, I know that Spyrax has been, performing really well, and I'm going to talk about Yuji because I figure that Mad Magical wants to talk about Spyrax, but Yuji, I said it earlier in the show, he is reading lane states. He is showing up at the right time to help his lanes. He is giving up his own leads to make sure that the team benefits. And that's something I feel like was really critical, especially in FlyQuest's first game yesterday. The Wukong just consistently hovering bot so that Aphelios Janna could get good resets, could not be pressured, could not lose summoners to punish a squishy lane, a squishy combo. That was a big difference in that game, and that's something that I didn't see Yuji do last split. I still think that FlyQuest can be exploited as they primarily do path top to bot and are playing through that bot lane in Tomo Diamond, where Diamond's freed up as the shot caller, and I think that really does help FlyQuest. But Yuji, the reads, when he chooses to break the script of the game, I think he's making the right choices when he does decide to skip camps and go bot. This is something I did not see from Yuji in the spring. It's a huge sign of improvement, and I really want to see if that continues today against TSM.
Well, I think that works with his combination with Spyrax. You're right. I do want to talk about Spyrax because I think he's done an amazing job as a player that
really good.
Where a lot of us, including myself, came into spring thinking he was going to be, not necessarily the worst, but down towards the bottom in our mid lane talent pool. And then by the end of it, he looked explosive. The beginning was rough, but once he got himself comfortable, once he felt like he was a part of the team, worked with Yuji, it looked amazing. Even if they weren't able to get as high of a finish as, anyone would want to in Proving Grounds, they still did fairly well. Here, they look like they are perfectly in sync. Constant, like the Yasuo Diana and game one, busting that out and looking amazing on both champions.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it kind of all works out, especially in this final best of two for these two teams in week number 1 as Champion Select is ready. So let's see how this day starts off, hopefully with a bang, Magical and Cubby.
Well, we'll find out. It's my self-proclaimed match of the day, TSM Academy, FlyQuest Academy. Honestly, I expect to see TSM learn a lot from the mistakes of yesterday, maybe draft a bit better now that they're on the blue side against FlyQuest, but FlyQuest, with how dominant they've looked so far, seem nearly untouchable when it comes to even trying to outdraft them.
I think that FlyQuest have really benefited from sticking as 5. I know that specifically talking to Diamond yesterday and Philip today, both players said, we are 4-0, but it doesn't really feel as satisfying because we are going up against rosters that haven't spent a ton of time together.
That's fair.
Like, it feels like, the games, they're obviously thrilled about starting 4-0, but they want more. This roster is hungry. Diamond said their goal is to win Academy. This is something that, as you stated, Diamond has done many, many times before. So I really feel like FlyQuest, it's a much different mindset in their camp this year. I think this team believes in themselves. They can compete at the top of the table. And if you look at this split compared to spring, they started 0-6 in spring. If they 2-0 TSM today, that is a 6-0 start for them. I really want to see if FlyQuest can come together and do it. And we'll see if they can do it against Hyper's Lee Sin, first pick for TSM. Hyper's best champ historically. He's already picked up 2 wins on it this split.
Maybe a little bit of hubris on the side of FlyQuest there, because you do not let Hyper get Lee Sin. If you beat him on Lee Sin, that is a monumental task. He is so good on this champion that it just why we tend to see it permanently banned. And if not, that's when TSM look their strongest. He knows how to pilot this champion excellently. And FlyQuest, while they do get a strong top side, I'm just worried what TSM will answer now into this gangplank.
We spent a lot of time talking about FlyQuest, Spyrax, UG, as you like to say, the cheat code in the bot lane. Tomo Diamond have been really good to start the split. Philip is somewhat the glue that makes it all work together. Because guess what? Philip gets no resources. Philip is on his own. And Philip has been very self-sufficient, very solid. I was talking to Philip before the games. I was asking players what they thought of the new patch. And Philip, word for word, said, I kind of like the new patch because I don't get farmed as much. Like, he knows that he is, like, on his own top, that the game plan a lot of the time is to path towards that bot lane for FlyQuest, enable Tomo and Diamond, get him out of lane. And Philip, on his own, has been really good. 2 wins on the gangplank already this season will be picked up for him again as TSM counter with that Vladimir. So seeing this matchup yet again.
And see, this is where I was even going to bring up. Do FlyQuest just really pull the wool out from underneath TSM at this point and just say, hey, you know, instead of having Gangplank go top, he's going to go mid. It's going to be a lot easier because you don't have to face that Vladimir, but it is an Ahri on the other side, so that makes me doubt it. Yeah, once I see the Ahri, I'm like, okay, no, it can't be that anymore.
I'm all for Spyrax's champion pool. He's got a deep one. Gangplank being a part of it doesn't look like it. It's been magical. A little bit too crazy for me, but guess what? Top side's locked in for both teams.
It would have been viable if the Ahri wasn't picked in at that moment.
Top side's locked in for both teams. We're going to see some bot lane focus. I think, surprisingly, Lucian not taken by either squad. I expect TSM to ban that here.
No bot lane.
And honestly, Tomo Diamond, very deep pools historically. Specifically, Diamond last split played 16 unique champions. He's already played 4 unique champs in 4 games this split. So we'll see if Diamond has something up his sleeve. Expect to be marksman on 4 for FlyQuest and save that counter pick 4 support.
Yeah, and with the Kalista banned away, the Kalista-Renata Gloss combo is out of the equation. There's that Lucian ban that you had been asking for towards Tomo in the bot lane. So no Lucian in Nami, but still maybe the Nami. We haven't really seen, because we are on 12-10, the artillery mages with Nami. You were talking about this previously, the power that something like a Brand can have with a Nami as the support.
Yeah, that's actually kind of the cheesy lane that I've been hoping to see. As looks like Nautilus going to be taken away by FlyQuest. Don't want that point-and-click depth charge. This tells me FlyQuest might be looking for an Ezreal pick. Something that Tomo really good at historically. Already put up a good game on Ezreal to split. And also, I think it's a really good takeaway from Instinct and TSM. You see Gangplank, Azir, Wukong. That is a lot of zone control, some displacement as well. Ezreal would feel really good into that. And I think TSM recognizes that might be a pick that's good for Tomo. They would never get Ezreal, so they're just going to take it off the board for themselves.
And now I'm looking to see if it does end up being the artillery mages in the bot lane. If they decide to go for something cheesy like that to make me happy, I do like that they're all hovering Singed to just really say, hey, we know you want Singed mid. It's not going to happen. Never going to happen. And Tomo locks in Aphelios.
This was Tomo's most played last split, and again, played it to a victory game 1 yesterday in FlyQuest series against C9. As we'll see if what the answer is going to be for TSM. Karthus would surprise me. A lot of magic damage already between the Vladimir and the Ahri.
Yeah.
It is good into Aphelios. I don't think we're going to see a mage here, though.
Instinct talked about wanting to play Victor bot, but it's like you said. They have so much magic damage elsewhere. They need to make up for it with a little bit more AD, and that Jinx is definitely going to provide that.
Renata would be a lot of landing prowess for the side of TSM, but Tom Kench is the classic response that we have seen, as we'll see what ends up being the plan. If it is Renata, I think that Diamond again, Janna would feel,
yeah.
I don't love Janna into Ahri Vlad. I think that it's pretty easy to get attacked there, but
what about
I
Zillion?
would really like Zillion. I think Zillion's a really good pick here. I want Diamond to lock this in.
No, Zillion is one of these picks that I've actually heard a lot of players say is secretly OP. Like, having talked to some of them during the offseason, they're like, dude, Zillion is going to be absolutely disgusting once more players realize how powerful he is. But instead, they pivot back to the Janna. They go for the same combination they did game 1 yesterday.
Yeah, so the Janna, the only reason I was a little bit concerned about the Janna is that Vladimir is really strong in the Janna. You can pool, get through the tornado, get through the slow, try and one-shot the Janna. And Vladimir, honestly, is going to be the savior for TSM in the later stages of the game. I think that for the side of TSM, Really important that Hyper Takeover can utilize their strength, levels 6 through 9, their strength at one item to try and make plays happen and get TSM the ball rolling for them across the map. Whereas on the side of FlyQuest, I really like their team fight. You have so much zone control with Gangplank, with Wukong. Janna can protect your two backliners.
Yep.
And if TSM isn't able to get ahead and find angles on that, I think that FlyQuest scales to the moon with this comp. So I know that Vladimir is the one thing that can kind of bridge that, but I still favor FlyQuest's side. So
yes, I was just about to say, I'm like, Vladimir, Jinx, I feel like those are two things that can do well into the later stages of the game. But I'm definitely with you that if you go based off, pound for pound, which one's going to scale better, which one is needing to the team fights a little bit more, FlyQuest really have indexed towards the team fight, towards the skirmishes later into the game. While on the other side, Vladimir kind of wants level 9, but maybe Hyper on this Lee Sin can really provide that bang early to get them these early leads so that they don't have to worry when the skirmishes happen because they already have gotten themselves in a perfect position to counteract what FlyQuest are trying to do.
it is Hyper's Lee Sin. Pretty tough to pilot into Wukong and Janna, but if anyone's going to do it, we've seen what Hyper can do on this champion. Again, insane win rate in his career, hands down the best performing champion that Hyper has in his pool. And TSM, they're never afraid to first pick it. It's not meta, but that's what they did here, and we'll see if it rewards them with a victory as they are trying to hand FlyQuest their first loss of the split.
And he played this to success, this exact matchup Hyper did against Sheeden on day 1. So going into this game, going into week 1, day 3, TSM Academy, FlyQuest Academy. It should be exciting to see how they'll battle on the Rift, as it looks like at the early stages, nobody's going for anything fancy, and that bums me out.
Man, Magical, we're like 24 seconds into the game.
Boo!
They can't even get to the other side of the map, man.
Boo! Level 1s now. Okay,
This is-
Shenyi? Yeah, no, damn it.
He's going for the ward, trying to help Soul out, get some control.
Why can't I
As-
get the level 1 fights?
We'll get the craziness later in the split, man, Magical. We got best of 2s, twice the amount of games as LCS. We're
That is
guaranteed
fair.
to get some action.
All right. I'll concede. Because right now, everyone is playing a little bit more safe, wanting to rack up these wins early on into the season, better themselves when it comes to seeding into proving grounds way later on. That's for a different time.
Really want to see what Hyper does in this early game, of course, on this Lee Sin, but also this is FlyQuest. And I talked earlier about how FlyQuest, we expect this team oftentimes to path top to bot. As I'm setting this up, actually, curiously enough, Yuji actually going to cross the map, start on the blue buff. So bot top, a little bit different, maybe trying to impact that top lane. GP can heavily trade with Vladimir early, make this lane very volatile. So it looks like both junglers might be starting on the bot side to race up here, try to make an impact on this lane. Would be really valuable for FlyQuest. There's no TP on Soul, so any kills, any pressure they put on the Vladimir, extra valuable in this top side.
Well, especially because Vladimir, as I called out before, once he hits level 9, that's when he's truly in his own. That's where he becomes a different beast. So you have to punish him early on. Yeah, I didn't even say you had to punish him before he has a pool available so that he could just dip down and be safe. Right now, Soul is going for the greedy play against Philip. Is he going to solo kill him at level 1? He doesn't have flash, so he couldn't go back in, but he has that ghost if he wants to continue this aggression.
Again, look at the volatility and look at each of these junglers trying to race up top. Yuji skipping over wolves, pretty standard on the Wukong, but Hyper going for that red Raptors Gromp pathing. A nice ward from Spyrax will spot this. So Philip should know that he is going to be under pressure here in a couple seconds. Once Hyper can make it up here, Philip has to be careful. This wave is pushing into his side of the map, so it should be okay. But still, this lane has been made very volatile by both of these top laners, and Hyper will be spotted, but is the first to arrive.
Right over a ward, Philip now playing very cautiously, understanding that Hyper is right there in the wings. UG, you could easily counteract this gank with Philip getting jumped on by Hyper with the Sonic Wave not connecting. Hyper is going to bail out of it, probably walk back over the ward and get re-engaged by Yuji.
Yuji is spotted as Hyper doesn't want to deal with this. We are 15 seconds away from the crab. Yuji does have the fast track as he's going to use this to spot out Hyper. Just misses him, actually.
Barely, but they know he's nearby. Unless he wants to go for a full reset, but with the blue buff open, Yuji understands that he's probably going to be right on top of his blue, will take the Scuttle Crab, and then even invade briefly onto Hyper, really putting that pressure on to Hyper's Lee Sin and trying to counteract anything early on into the game that he could possibly get.
And Yuji just gonna attack Hyper. Is Hyper going low?
He's got flash though, so Yuji
Wow.
just scares him out, and then we'll be able to clear this side of the jungle.
I love this though from Yuji. Again, really good decision making, and it's teamwork from him and Philip. As Philip, credit to Philip, that early trinket to spot out Hyper and the sidestep on the Sonic Wave. That's what helped enable Yuji now to take the crab, get up in the face of Hyper, has taken away 2 camps from that side of the map, and Hyper has no response. So Yuji miles ahead in this jungle matchup.
The only thing that surprises me is that Yuji went with that with Spyrex having a bad trade against Takeover.
Yeah.
Takeover probably was in a position to rotate around, but it also would have been really dicey with how low Hyper had gotten.
Again, FlyQuest though, this early game plan, Yuji reading the map, interacting with his lanes. This is such a massive improvement from Yuji compared to the spring. And the one thing I was asking from Yuji was to kind of see this from the top side, see the flexibility. I thought that FlyQuest were a rather stale team when it came to their strategies, but Yuji now working up towards that top side of the map, proving that he can do this on both sides of the map. I think these are the signs of improvement we want to see out of this player, and more promising signs for this FlyQuest squad early in the season, especially from their young sophomores in Academy.
And it leans into why so many people were hyped to see Yuji make it to the Academy stage. Why people had picked him up at the beginning, said, right in spring, they're like, Yuji is a guy to watch. He didn't really have the best, most explosive start in his career, but here, the growth that you're talking about, Cubby, to see him at this level, beating up Hyper's Elise, and we have to stress that point too, of how difficult it is, because Hyper is so well versed in nearly any matchup that Lee Sin faces off against. It's very rare to ever see him get behind this early.
Now, the one positive for the side of TSM is that Soul up a lot of creeps in that top side. That's not how this matchup should go. It should be GP favored until about level 7. That's when things start to go in the favor of the Vladimirs. You get points in the queue. You said it earlier. And again, Yuji, Tomo, the Diamond trying to crash this wave. Yuji looking optimistically. That's a flash.
That was a flash, but doesn't get the flash burn, just the heal out of Instinct. So a bit over-aggressive on the side of UG, but keeping that push happening for Tomo and Diamond when it looked like Instinct and Jenny might have had a good freeze going on, at least alleviate some of the pressure so they can reset bot lane.
Yeah, a part of this is Yuji coming down on a cannon wave, trying to get a good base, as Tomo Diamond, they're at least going to take the HP trade, and knowing that they just cleared out the ward, might look to threaten. Instinct not going to step up and farm this wave, so once they base, Tomo Diamond, they'll hard shove this themselves.
Good call.
And yeah, get a little bit of a bigger advantage for themselves. Again, Yuji helping his bot lane, hovering at the right time. That's a big CS lead already for the FLYAs.
Yeah, getting a sizable lead. Once he recalls, going to have that Noon Quiver as well to compete with that of Instincts on the other side. Getting these components built up early, but the small incremental leads are starting to add up for FlyQuest. You can even see that with Yuji still feels confident fighting against Hyper. The two longswords not really going to match the might of that Shin Wukong.
Hyper forced to exit, but Shen Yi here to help. As looks like TSM will see the crab as Diamond's rotating over to help. So I think it's the right decision from TSM to back off. But again, FlyQuest and Yuji specifically using the early advantage, early strength of the Wukong now with a Sheen to really push Hyper around this map.
Well, and here's where things are dicey for TSM. We're hoping for that explosive early game, utilizing Hyper on this Lee Sin, tag teaming with Takeover's Ari, or even looking to topside to help out Soul get to level 9. We just haven't seen that because UG and Spyrex have done such a good job. Level 7 fight from Soul, fully all inning. He might be able to get that solo kill. One more Q will be able to take down Philip.
Well done by Soul, our rookie in this game for Academy. I think Soul's played really, really well this week, especially for his first split of Academy. That continues as he finds the solo kill in the counter matchup. Philip goes down. Well, TP to get back. We're going to potentially take a second look at that one, though, as, again, Soul has that level 7, has Ignite up, gets to pop everything. Really tough for GP to deal with. Is a nice sidestep on that barrel. Guarantees that Soul nets first blood.
And it's more surprising to see that from Soul. Well, Vladimir, I think, is one of those strong champions that you can look for all-ins like that against GP who's overextended. It was before the level 9 spike that we're used to.
Yeah, once you get some ability haste and get levels in the Vladimir, obviously that Q. Level 9's like where you feel really good in the lane, you're good for the rest of the game, but you can't hit it earlier. Especially with Ignite, Soul finds the window Do want to talk about that Dragon, though. They just went over to the side of FlyQuest. Again, bot lane priority, bot lane strength, but also Yuji was level 6, Hyper was level 5. So when FlyQuest show up to match, Hyper doesn't feel like he can stick on that Dragon as he doesn't have access to his ultimate. FlyQuest say thanks for the leash, take that first Dragon for themselves.
Well, and that's all great for FlyQuest, having the spot lane go well. But this is actually a little bit worrying for me when I look at how they've functioned in the past few days, where Philip is on weak side duty, and he's been able to hold his own fairly well without falling too far behind. Now he's struggling. So here, FlyQuest have to have plays like this in the bot lane, getting so much damage onto Instinct. The bailout just timed out for enough for Toma to get the kill.
But again, support has level 6, the other one doesn't, as now Takeover. No ult.
Takeover, he charmed the wrong thing, no ult, he's dead.
More pressure from FlyQuest as they went out on 2 lanes. Yuji helping mid, but also the bot lane. The lane that Yuji already helped, that's an experience advantage for Diamond and FlyQuest. You cannot give them any angles because they will take the victory. As that's just a really good read from Toma and Diamond. Having access to more abilities than the enemy team, they go in, they find the kill.
Well, they answered my question pretty much immediately, didn't they, Covey? Where I was worried about the top side not doing so well, needing more plays on the other half of the map, and sure enough, they have plays in both lanes.
And I mean, I think FlyQuest having a great start to this game, but this has been the Yuji show. As Yuji was the one who bailed out Philip in the top side from that Hyper gank. Yuji was the one who set Hyper very far behind and also enabled Tomo and Diamond to have the start they did, right? Being there at the right time, making sure that they got clean bases off was huge. Is now Yuji. This could be bad.
Nice flash away, but Hyper can follow that up. He flashes himself over the wall looking for Yuji.
He's got a
Smite to make sure he gets a little bit more health. Yuji also has that decoy available, so with Hyper now bringing his attention to Philip, he just kicks him in the face.
And Soul can use the pool to easily drop the aggro, so TSM, strong side on the top side. This game, I think it's really going to come down to the rookie Soul. He is the one that is ahead. He is the one that has gold. Every other lane for TSM not looking too hot in this game. So Soul is that late game Vladimir. Can really break the game plan of FlyQuest. We'll see if he's able to carry this game and really put his team on his back.
Especially because we talked about the early game, the team fight capabilities of FlyQuest. But that just leads into a Vladimir. Vladimir loves chaos. He loves everyone grouped together. Put a Hemo Plague down onto everybody. Go into your pool and just say, all right, time for everyone to die.
The tough part's just going to be for the Vladimir. I mean, you have to get around Cannon Barrage, Emperor's Divide, Tornadoes from Diamond. There is a lot of peel on this Vladimir. So Soul, without access to TP, only has the Ghost. We'll have to maneuver himself around the map rather well to try and find angles, to try and make sure that it is not a front-to-back fight. Because in a front-to-back, heavily favor FlyQuest still.
He's got to be perfect on those angles, and the top side of the map is where he's got Haven at. He's got so much vision control there, while TSM aren't able to replicate that on the bottom half. It's FlyQuest territory there. We've got a split map, essentially.
And Philip, also down 2 levels, thanks to all the pressure that TSM has thrown into this top side. As Soul playing this very well, taking the barrels out, getting the empowered Qs, not taking tower damage. This is a matchup that we expect a lot of top laners to be able to play in Academy, the Vlad and the GP, but Soul, this is not a champion that we saw him play in his amateur split with Immortals AoE, so already Soul showing he's got... Hold on.
I was going to say, granted, Vladimir hasn't really been seen in the meta for some time.
That's true. Historically, though, you know, this is a matchup. Soul was mostly on the weak side for that team, as they oftentimes did play through Niche, who we'll see later this year with COG Academy. But it's a good sign for Soul. Again, I think he's had a really good debut this week, and it's another sign of growth, sign of improvement from his time that we saw in Amateur.
This game, honestly, is living up to what I was expecting of it. Even if some of the other parts of the map, TSM, aren't functioning as well as we'd want them to, especially because you look towards the bot lane, Instinct having played with Mia the past few days, and now swapping it out last minute for Shen Yi, means that you don't necessarily have the most practice, and still, despite that, the bot lane's not in as many shambles as you would expect for having a last-minute sub like that.
Yeah, it's, you know, not ideal still, going down to the 2v2.
I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm just
still
saying
not great.
It could be worse, and I've seen worse.
Could be worse. Aphelios up early. It's good for Tomo. We'll see if FlyQuest can cash that into a second dragon. as it is spawn
Should be.
Rift. Yeah, they will have bot lane priority, and even UG helping FlyQuest bot lane shove that out. Even gonna drop Shelly, so looks like more gold funneled into Tomo.
Gonna pressure the turret so they can easily rotate up, take that second dragon of the game, get us our rift for the map. Right there, nice, good charge. Should be able to get the 4th plate. Gillen wants to hit that, but doesn't need it. The minions got it for him while the rest of his team has got the dragon.
Good stuff from FlyQuest. They secure their second dragon. This will pressure TSM again to team fight them early. And one of the things that we talked about as we do shift more into the mid game now with plates falling, Magical. We wanted to see Takeover and Hyper make some plays. Wanted to see if they could get out of lane, make a play. They did make one to put Philip further behind in that top lane matchup that Soul was already winning. But I think because UG marked Hyper so early, UG is pretty far ahead in this matchup. Further ahead of the power curve than what I would expect. And that's really set behind TSM's game plan, as we do see TSM trying to set up again on this top side as Soul.
I like how Soul is just fighting him between the 2 turrets anyways. He's just saying, yeah, Philip, you got literally no pressure on me. Even with Cannon Barrage up, I have no fear in my heart. I'm Vladimir, and I'll heal back everything. But UG is really the big problem, especially when you see Spyrex was nearby and could easily roam up top too.
Yeah, that was the thing. Takeover wants to go catch that wave. That would have opened up a play for Spyrex to go top, and now Takeover actually slamming TP, going bot. Shenyi, he does have access to Flash. Do we see our Flash?
Tornado
really nice
is going to connect. That was a great tornado from Diamond with the minions there to back
there
up.
It's
going to be difficult, but they're missing that all.
Tomo!
The damage on top of Shenyi. Tomo has kited it out perfectly.
Tomo Diamond played that so well with the Aphelios Janna as they almost turned that. There was an angle in there where Tomo probably would have given his life, but could have Gale Force forward, maybe flashed out to trade out 1 kill. Instead, Tomo doesn't see it, but still, they win out on the 2v3, and look at what FlyQuest gets around the map. Spyrex crashing waves mid. Hyper forced to show. This could enable UG to get in and steal the top side jungle.
I think this turret should fall with UG right behind, even if Hyper tries to play aggressively on to Spyrex. It's an Azir. Azir's so good at destroying these turrets and then looking for plays like that where Hyper had to use a controller just to get back.
And that's another good read from Yuji. Again, just standing there, making sure that his mid laner is guaranteed to take the turret. Keep in mind, this team, they do scale. So I think that Yuji, anytime that you can, mitigate risk, make sure you're getting things for free, that is the play. And Yuji's still going to be able to take some camps away from Hyper as he now rotates down to his strong side, sees the Krugs are up, will pick that up for himself.
And we see that the game is continuing to go as it has throughout laning phase, where top lane has worked out well for Soul on TSM Academy's side, but the rest of the map, not so well. They've lost out both the tier 1s mid and bot, and they've rotated everyone up to the top side of the map because that's where they have strength. That's where they have power if they want to make sure they can at least get some sort of monster objective.
And I think the answer for TSM here is just keep Soul in the side lane where the monster objective is not spawning. So in this case, you can put Soul bot for a couple minutes, put him away from the rest of the team, try and get him into the gangplank, or even at this point, into the Azir. Soul is so far ahead of the power curve that I really feel like he can win each side lane, and this is going to be the thing that gives TSM some sort of strength, some sort of hope in this mid game.
And that's what I was thinking as well, is that Soul at this point can easily battle against Spyrex. He's not too threatened by him, even with the Leandries. He can heal up a lot through that. It's if some grievous wounds get built up to really try to mitigate the power that Vladimir has, but with a lot of that cut away, Vladimir is just that much more powerful. And right here with this invade from FlyQuest and Soul nearby, it could be a little bit too far for FlyQuest.
Hyper will be able to smite that away as Eugene Diamond, as you called out, Magical will retreat. But Spyrex still rather far up in the bot side, will now follow suit the rest of his team, back off a bit. And, FlyQuest finding all those members of TSM on their side of the map, it will allow Philip some free time to catch up on the top side, whereas TSM with the numbers advantage trying to make this power play count.
I like this.
Second Rift Herald to take mid outer, I think it's the right decision from TSM.
It's gold needed in other parts of the map that aren't Soul. They gotta make sure they're getting their coffers lined.
I think gold, but also control needed, right? Taking mid outer, this will help with the future dragons, as keep in mind, FlyQuest looking for Soul Point. We have an Ocean Soul on the Rift, and Dragon does spawn here in 50 seconds.
Looking at where the gold is allocated at the moment, have a lot of gold there for Soul, as expected, but look at how well Tomo is doing. Tomo's got quite the lead. He's nearly got the most gold on his team as the AD carry compared to that of Instinct, and he is suffering.
And all the peeling tools that Tomo has this game. That's the big difference between the Aphelios and the Jinx this game. Look at TSM's comp, right? Vlad wants angles, wants to dive. Hyper Takeover want to separate and assassinate people. Tomo, every single individual on that team can help peel for the Aphelios.
And see, I talked about how Instinct wasn't doing too bad. It's not the worst I've seen. I mean, now it's starting to get pretty bad. Now it's getting a bit more rough.
Tomo's been fun.
Yeah, because Tomo's been heavily funneled. That's where I go, oh, wait, I got to eat my words.
Hyper takes half of his health bar from Spyrax, and again, the zone control from this Azir. Soul's the only one that can break it, but I think Soul needs an angle. If it's front to back, it's not that great for TSM.
No, it's not. And right now, FlyQuest understand that they've got a flank angle from Philip if they need to, but they're all grouped up together to make sure that Soul's not going to be able to get there. Takeover is on the other side.
That's big.
Out. He jumps in on a UG. He's got a charm on top of him as well with the hostile takeover under so many members. And Hemo playing into the back line. They're going to kill Renata. But where's the damage?
Vlad dies.
Soul. They got at least 2 back, though, with that Hemo playing explosive damage. They're able to turn it around. And now Takeover's got charm on Tomo. But he is huge. He's hard to kill. But they finally slay the beast. Philip will be the next target. And TSM pull off a miracle.
It wasn't Soul with the flank, but it was Takeover. The angle from the Ahri. It wasn't spotted. It wasn't marked. And that engage from Takeover made things so difficult for FlyQuest as they lost too many members early and TSM capitalized.
And the fact that they were able to pull this one off, like you said, from Takeover's flank, getting Yuji so he can't engage is monumental.
Oh, it's so good from Takeover as they were forced to retreat the flank and Philip can't peel. Spyrax also didn't peel the Emperor's Divide towards his teammates instead of away. This opened up things for Instinct to free fire, and yes, that Jinx was behind, but when you get excited, when you have that Kraken Slayer, you can still pump out the damage as Takeover opened up so much space for TSM in that fight, and Soul and Instinct, props to them. They capitalized off of that, found a huge win for TSM, and all of a sudden, we have a close game on our hands.
And suddenly from 0-1-0 to 1-1-4, he's been able to buy himself the Zeal, a nice longsword, the damage onto Diamond. Even if he misses that rocket, you can see that now it is no longer with that case scenario where we're talking about a fed Tomo. Caster Curse and all, Instinct is back in this game.
Tomo did all he could that game, but Takeover was too much, and Takeover, he's not done as Spyrax, that is a big turret. TP coming in.
And look at Takeover on the other side, making sure that Yuji cannot help out his mid laner. It was the TP used by Philip to make sure Spyrax survives that entire time. They've split up the fight and thwarted TSM.
Nice auto there on the barrel from Shenyi. I think that saved Shenyi from maybe having to burn that ult or be under threat. As TSM, again, props to them, utilize that tempo. They take a couple summoner spells away from FlyQuest. TSM playing this mid game very well.
Yeah, this is great to see. We talked about how when we get to the team fights, when we get to the skirmishes, we favor that of FlyQuest, but there's still points of power for TSM. Soul being one of them. Even when he died in the last fight, the Hemo Plague was onto 4 members of FlyQuest. That burst of damage, even after he fell, was enough to help Instinct get excited afterwards.
And now, we're in a game state where Baron's on the table. We're past the 20-minute mark. TSM no longer under threat of a potential Soul or a Soul point coming in. They could give a Dragon if they want. I still feel that TSM have to push hard. You have Ahri, you have Lee Sin at the 1.5, 2 item mark. This is really the moment of the game where these champions still have a lot of power under their belts. It doesn't get easier for them. We've seen what Azirs can do in the later stages of the game, especially when you get those defensive items, like the Rylai's, like the Zanyas that Spyrax already has in his inventory. So I really want to see TSM force hard, and I like the fact they're pulling Baron. I think they need to bait FlyQuest in.
They're just having 2 members committed to it at the moment.
Not spotted. There's no blue trinket.
Look at where Yuji is. Look at
FlyQuest has no idea.
Yuji is. It doesn't matter now if you try to contest this. You don't have the smite to secure it.
Philip
You've got to get so much damage into the backline. They're going to be able to spot it out, but it's already at 25% health.
Oh, no.
Here comes the cannon barrage. They might try to see if they can create a little bit of distance, but it's going to be secured by Hyper.
TSM, these Baron calls, it's been consistent. It's what kept them in the game yesterday versus Dignitas. And it's what's getting them ahead in this one. As you called it out, Mad Magical, Yuji on the wrong side of the map. TSM know that they have to push the pace of the game now. They start the Baron. FlyQuest isn't spotted. They just get it uncontested.
Well, see, where we talked about pound for pound, we favored FlyQuest in the late game. Sometimes you get a Vladimir that's far and away ahead of a Gangplank who's useless in this.
Yeah.
And it's allowed them to get Instinct back into this game. It's allowed them to have Hyper, who was far behind Yuji early on. Even if you talk about how Lee Sin's and Ari's, they fall off, you got a 3-0-3 Lee Sin. You got a 1-1-4 takeover with that Void Staff already completed.
And I know that Soul is huge. I mean, that death cap, stopwatch. Soul is going to be massive for this next Ocean fight. I do want to point out FlyQuest double maw for Yuji and Philip. So, honestly, I think that Soul is one that has to open things up, but I want to keep our eyes also out for Instinct. The fact that they went straight MR, Instinct has the potential to shred the side of FlyQuest. Will have flash up for this fight. So, I think Soul, Instinct, the big members to look out for. And then for FlyQuest, can Spyrax and can Diamond peel for Tomo? Is Tomo going to be allowed to put all the damage down that he needs to put down in this fight?
And with that Bloodthirster, does provide him a little bit of safety, but I also like the safety that Instinct's built up with that Phantom Dancer. Having the ability to move around the map a little bit easier on his own, not necessarily having to rely on the peel coming in from TSM, which opens up Soul and Hyper to try to find these picks into the backline.
Yeah, and utilizing this Baron really nicely for TSM. They take mid-inner turret. Gonna get some chunks onto Spyrax, thanks to Instinct getting excited, getting buffed up by the Renata, and hey, 5 seconds till Dragon. You just took mid-inner. Great position to go take that monster objective.
Alright, with the empowered recalls, easy for them to reset, but they don't have to fully commit for that. They can just send someone like Instinct who can melt through these monster objectives.
Exactly what they're doing, and Soul's waiting to see if FlyQuest checks. Should not be the case. Fortunately for Philip, actually got a lot of free time.
He did.
Yeah, that inner turret falling for FlyQuest, I think that FlyQuest honestly trades up there.
Oh, and he's sitting on 2,000 gold. So once he gets goes for his recall, it was a big deficit before Cubby.
And I mean, of course, TSM picking up the Dragon, that's a must, but I feel like TSM overcommitted members. That's why I think it's a win for FlyQuest. They got more than what they should have with that play, and the fact that TSM does have Baron on their shoulders. So good plays from FlyQuest, good responses. As we are getting past the 25-minute mark, starting to get closer to that late game. I know that, you know, it's Vlad, Jinx. These characters can pop off in the late game, or champions, should say, but still, look at FlyQuest comp. Look at all the peel they have. I really think that FlyQuest can do some damage. I want to see if they can execute their team fight correctly.
So, Cubby, is this living up to my self-proclaimed match?
Game one's been good.
Yeah, it's been really good.
I'm here for it,
you can see why I look at all the games that were happening, and this is the one I picked out, with the one that I thought would be the match of the day, just with how close these teams are. Even in the 2-0-0-2 loss yesterday, TSM looked so strong, utilizing here Soul, the rookie player, to chase down Philip and make sure he is not a factor in this pursuing fight.
Soul did drop the Ignite, but I liked how Soul didn't commit the ultimate. Knows how important that Hemo Plague is. Now Spyrax.
Nice dodge away, though, from Soul to make sure he's not pulled back in. The hostile takeover, and all 5 members of FlyQuest disengaged the fight completely, so they can just reset. They even have takeover fully committing to push up the minions into the inhibitor turret.
Great pull from Soul, as the optimistic look from Spyrax does not connect, and FlyQuest will drop this bot inner turret now as a result.
But without Baron, it does make it a little bit more difficult for them to fully topple these turrets. Instead, they're just keeping FlyQuest pinned into their base. They've got about 2 minutes until the next Baron will spawn. They can take a lot from the side of FlyQuest, try to deny some semblances of gold that could be accrued by FlyQuest while they get out.
I think we're going to reach a quiet point of the game here, Mad Magical, as both teams resetting. No monster objectives for 90 seconds. But hey, TSM, they've really played their way back into this game.
Yeah, they have.
I still think late game is a tough challenge. There are definitely winning angles, but I think it really relies on TSM isolating champions and getting picks.
I think you got 2 players that are great at finding those picks in Hyper and Takeover from TSM.
Yeah.
They've done a great job so far. That last fight really was one of the big statement cases for Takeover, with that Ari flank, finding everyone and allowing the rest of TSM to run down FlyQuest, get that Dragon, and make sure this game is as close as it is.
And I think that, you know, identifying the fact you have to attack the Janna from Diamond. If you removed Diamond early in the fight, less shields, no Moonstone, no big impactful ultimate that can help peel for Tomo. You know, a lot of times when you're facing Enchantresses, you want to target them first. If you are able to take them out of the fight first, that is so much power that the rest of the team is then missing if you are FlyQuest. So I think the fact that Takeover and Hyper found that early angle to remove the Janna was really important. I think that could be a big part of the rest of the game, as we'll have to look out for Diamond's positioning. Again, important that he's able to peel.
Oh,
speaking
nice
of positioning.
Flash. Nice flash from Philip. Used the oranges to make sure that the knockup wasn't going to result in a stun afterwards. But yeah, it looked a little scary. And looking here, I'm looking at the inventories, and I'm looking at Diamond, because you mentioned him, but I'm also looking at that Oblivion Orb. They really do need that heal cut, and once he's got the Chemtech Putrefier built up to help facilitate the rest of the team, that's when they might have a little bit more power, but they gotta wait. They have to make sure they're getting something like that so it can spread to everyone on the team. Until then, it's just Diamond providing heal cut.
We'll see if that ends up being completed on this base, as this base actually going to be nearly canceled. I like
Seconds.
Not quite ready for Diamond, but looking at the inventories, we do have it in Infinity Edge, now completed for Tomo. So that is very important. That is an IE compared to no IE on the side of TSM. And I think this is where, looking at the inventories, again, focus has to be on Soul. Level 16. Death cap plus Zhonya's.
Oh my.
There is an Infinity Edge on Tomo. Diamond is peeling. TSM need to find the flank angle to get on this backline to make sure that FlyQuest cannot front to back this Ocean Dragon.
I'm looking at a lot of the inventories, a lot of 3-item spikes for both teams, and since we talked about how FlyQuest are a team we favor as the game continues to scale up, that FLYA, as you mentioned, is going to be scary, but so is Spyrex, so is Philip at this point.
But you can see how much respect TSM is paying towards FlyQuest and their strength, because they are not in position to contest this Ocean Dragon. It will go over for free, as now FlyQuest going to look to retreat. They are up a member, as Takeover was fixing the waves on the top side. So
That's a massive minion wave bot.
It is, but Spyrex is going to go take it. Spyrex does have the empowered teleport, so we'll see if TSM wants to start Baron and pull this, as they will.
Ooh, I like the positioning from Takeover. He hasn't been spotted right there. Will be spotted out by Eugene now. So there will be a bit of damage traded. A nice charm to make sure that Eugene can't do much to him. But it will thwart the Baron take for now from TSM, especially with Philip and Spyrex right behind them.
It's risky if TSM sticks. Spyrex can do a lot of damage. As look at the poke, look at the control. It is a front to back at the moment.
I don't know if I like this from
Watch
TSM.
Takeover. Watch Takeover.
Takeover is waiting to see if he can find another flank angle like
He's marked by a
but
turret.
with how low Soul is, it could be devastating. It's down to 25% health, Kobe.
Oh, man.
They could secure this if they want to, but it's going to be FlyQuest instead going into the pit, keeping the aggro going. But I don't think they really want to force it. They don't want to force the issue to have a smite fight go over to TSM.
FlyQuest, I love that play. Just get the chunks, utilize the poke you have from Azir. Get the fast track mid. They might be able to take mid inner, or they can reset to try and match and get tempo on the map elsewhere.
Yeah, right now, you're shoving the minion waves, but they're still a little bit fretful of TSM and how quickly they can regain control onto the map.
TSM, really things starting to look a little bit more difficult for them. The fact that Infinity Edge in the inventory of Tomo. You have Azir at 3 items. Not going for that defensive build with the Rylai's, Banshees, Zhonya's that we've seen, but instead it is a death cap for Spyrex. So he is pumping out the damage as FlyQuest, the DPS on these big backline carries.
Back on
and
it.
the fact that can be supported by Janna as Root.
Takeover.
That's an ult.
Yeah, that's an ult burn.
That's big. That's
Has
big.
TP available and flash, but
Oh,
stick
watch
him there.
Soul. Soul's not spotted.
is
Soul's not
right
spotted.
there waiting. He goes.
That's
and
huge.
Evil Plague onto 4 members. A lot
That's
of damage,
huge.
just eviscerating the side of FlyQuest, but they're still alive. Yuji was able to get back towards the team with Philip as well. Now they're trying to see if they can poke down TSM before they try to commit.
And that is the dream scenario, the dream fight from TSM Soul. The 4-man Hemo Plague. TSM just couldn't follow up on it. They were still on the Baron. They didn't peel off quick enough to try and capitalize off of what was a huge start to the fight from Soul. The fact that everyone was half health after Janna ult had a full cast is massive, but now
Wait a
Tomo...
minute. Tomo might be caught out.
He has
was
flash, he has
recalling
flash.
in base. He has flash, but look at how many members of TSM are here. With FlyQuest also turning
good
up to see if
flash.
they can fight the fight as well as possible to keep Tomo alive. The TP from Takeover now turns his attention, gets the flash out of Diamond, so Diamond's out of this fight. And we're getting a lot of fights, Cubby, that are not mounting in any kills.
No kills, but honestly for TSM, you'll take that. You traded the flash on Hyper and Shenyu to get the flash off of Tomo and Diamond. I feel like that is a trade up at this point. You can now if Takeover, if Seoul have a big flank, it is that much harder for FlyQuest to escape a collapse from TSM. So I feel like even though that results in no kills, it still is TSM trading up on the map.
And spotting out to see if they're on the Baron, with the rockets just going wide. They know FlyQuest have not started it, but they could easily start it now.
Instinct spot. Instinct spot. That's huge. Instinct should not show bot here. This is a big mistake. Instinct, he has to sprint up now. FlyQuest seeing Instinct bot. Their calls early season have been so good, so decisive. This could be enough for them to just take the Baron for free.
It's an Azir on Baron. You turn your back on it for a moment, and it's going to be taken instantly. So TSM trying their best to see if they can get that off of some members, but they couldn't chase down FlyQuest.
You cannot make mistakes versus FlyQuest in the early season. The fact that this team stuck together as 5, the decisiveness of their calls, the moment Instinct shows bottom, the moment they see that rocket go past Baron, they make the educated guess that he is in base. Once he shows bot, that is confirmed, immediately started, immediately taken, and just like that, FlyQuest is back in control of this game.
Amazing calls from this team. Got the veterancy from Diamond to lead the charge, but like you said, a team that stuck together from one split to the next, has that cohesion to work with one another, make smart, intelligent calls like that. And here, with that Baron in their pockets, they've got 35 seconds until they have a potential soul.
And the Baron just helps them get so much control over this bot river. Again, thanks to our wonderful observers, toggling the vision. Look at how difficult it is for TSM to see what's going on in this bot river. No business being on this side of the map. They are fighting an uphill battle. Spyrax even dropping the passive Azir turret in the mid lane, as that will force TSM now to play through bot.
They have full vision because they know that Takeover isn't there on the flank just yet. Now we'll spawn them out with the blue trinket, but they have knowledge of this. They understand where TSM are positioned.
Takeover does have the angle, but Yuji spots it. Good mark.
The thing is, they knew before. They had blue trinket there that was able to spot him, but he got a nice charm and a nice root on to Yuji, and he's kiting him back. While the rest of TSM, they survive an onslaught initially, but they got TSM soul so low that Hyper now has to go for a YOLO play. He could not steal it and deny the soul. He'll take Diamond with them, but he'll die along the way too.
And FlyQuest learning even throughout this game. What happened the one dragon fight they lost? Takeover, got the flank, found the angle, they were collapsed upon, they died. What is the solution this time around? They have someone that marks the Ahri. Yuji trading his ult for Ahri ult at this point of the game, when you have these big backline carries like Azir, like Aphelios on Spyrax, on Tomo, that's well worth it. So that takes away one of the ways that TSM can find angles. You are guaranteed a front to back, and FlyQuest, they win out on the front to backs at this point.
Exactly. You can even see Soul trying to play aggressively onto Tomo. The Hemo play doing a lot of damage. He gets shut down. What the hell, Soul? He goes in by himself, the rookie player. 1v4 in the middle of FlyQuest is allowing the team to fight back. He might even look for Yuji and Phil, but he's already done justice for TSM.
Soul just takes the game into his own hands as Tomo one misstep. Tomo was not expecting that. He has heal up. All the damage that came down from the Hemo Plague, from the Empowered Q, Soul just takes Tomo off the map, somehow gets out of the Emperor's Divide, as we'll take a second look, and Soul, oh my goodness, the damage on this Vladimir.
Absolutely crazy. The pool doing a little bit of damage, but then already having the E charge up to do a burst of damage. Q, Hemo Plague, done and dusted. And then the fact they get Spyrax on top of it all as well. They might have traded the life of Takeover, but hell, you will take that.
So worth it. Soul's been massive this game. From waning phase to now, Soul is putting up, again, another great performance on a champ that we didn't even really see him play in Amateur. Really, really good to see from Soul, making a nice debut week 1. Cannot speak enough praise on the player that we're seeing for the first time in the top side. As now Soul, I mean, all eyes on him. Tomo does have Flash coming up. He does have heal. It's going to be a lot harder for Soul to pull that off again, but he is 4 items on the fly. We talked about how he is the saving grace. If FlyQuest are not able to peel him off, that is what can happen on the back line. So All eyes have to be on Soul, on Takeover. Can they find angles as Tomo's way caught?
Onto Tomo again! Hyper looks for him with bursts of damage into the backline. They've taken
Spyrex
out the
isn't
bot
here.
lane. Spyrex finally shows up, but everyone's dying. Phil, he goes golden. They got the trade
Watch Soul,
on
watch
to
Soul.
Takeover, but Soul is the one to watch. He is the hero of TSM. He is taking down FlyQuest right and center.
Spyrex,
He'll
Spyrex.
finally fall, but Spyrex,
He's got ult still.
he's a
He has
bigger
ult.
hero. He's got
Woo!
down Shinyi, and somehow Spyrex makes sure the hero of TSM amounts to nothing.
Soul, the play from TSM. They found the angle. They removed Tomo and Diamond for the fight at first, but Spyrex coming in late. They had nothing to deal with the Azir, and on this patch, when you cannot one-shot Azir, when he is able to survive the damage, the DPS he puts out through the fight, it is so much, and the two sophomores for FlyQuest, they're the ones standing strong after that valiant attempt from TSM, and they're going to be the ones pushing FlyQuest to a 5-0 start.
What a tragedy for poor Stoll. He put on a hell of a performance in this game, but the overreaction is looking like it is a simple, nice read because FlyQuest are here to find victory. Sparks, UG, make sure they take game 1.
I want to take a second look at that fight again. That last fight, I do not know how they were able to actually turn it around in the end. That was a crazy game coming out from each of these teams as TSM again. Things were looking grim. They cannot front to back against Gangplank, Azir, Aphelios, Janna. The solutions that TSM attempted, I thought they had some intelligent calls. They caught Tomo twice. It just wasn't enough in the end. They were outscaled. Spyrex pumping out way too much damage, showing up to the fight late, but one could argue just in time to save his team and make sure they win out on that fight and win the game.
Well, it's kind of the argument, is it too late if you still win the game, especially because it is an Azir, and people always forget about the amount of damage that he can pump out if you're not focused onto him. You just got to lock him down, and then suddenly that damage is gone, but they used everything for Tomo and not for Spyrex, so it lets FlyQuest find victory there. Game 1 after another well-fought battle by TSM. They just come short. We're going to toss a break. When we come back, we'll have our halftime show with Mazel, so make sure you stay tuned.